Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Cody O'Toole here, back with my NFL first round mock draft 2.0. That's right, it's been a little while since I've done my first mock draft, and obviously a lot of newness has happened around the league, both in free agency and with trades. There's been a lot of movement in the first round as far as where teams are picking. Teams have gotten picks, teams don't have picks now in the first round. New players are on different teams, and we're going to talk about all of that. This is going to be my mock draft 2.0, my latest one, post free agency craziness frenzy. It has slowed down a little bit in the free agency market, but we're going to talk about all those moves and what I think these teams are going to do here in this first round mock. I'm really excited about it. And I'm curious to see how much of my picks are going to change from what has already happened here. If you guys are watching in the live chat, appreciate you being here. If not, no worries. We'll just continue moving and grooving here. I definitely do think I'm going to have some differences of picks, though, here. But without further ado, I'm excited to get started. I'm excited to see what direction teams are going to go in this draft because there is a lot of interesting things that could go down. So let's get started here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are still first overall on the board here. And they did make a lot of moves so far in their offseason. They kept Cam Robinson around, their tackle, and they did acquire another offensive lineman in free agency. I don't remember his name. I apologize. But it really seems like they've really focused on that offensive line in free agency. So obviously I had Evan Neal going first overall to them recently, but I think with them franchise tagging Cam Robinson as well as bringing in another offensive lineman, that makes me start to think they might be focusing on a different position here in the draft, especially with this first overall pick. And maybe they can continue to beef up their offensive line later on. They really haven't focused on that defense, and we know that Jacksonville Jaguars defense needs a ton of help. And I think Josh Allen needs a ton of help on that defense. He can't do it all by himself. So I think bringing in a top talent on the defensive side of the ball here might be the direction now the Jaguars go in the first overall selection. Again, a lot of signs pointed Evan Neal earlier on, but I do think they're focusing on this edge rush position now. And I do think the pick has leaned now towards more Aiden Hutchinson being the first overall selection. Obviously, he had a pretty good combine, pretty good pro day as well. He just has been the top prospect for some time now. Ever since his first game at Michigan this season, he's been dominating, and he just continued to. And I think all signs are just pointing to him being the first overall selection. So that's the direction I am going to go for the Jacksonville Jaguars, having them take Evan Neal first overall. Aiden Hutchinson first overall. I just think that's the direction they're going to go based on the moves they've made in free agency in the offseason so far, which puts Detroit on the clock now. And, a lot of people are expecting the hometown kid to come back home to Detroit, but that may not be the case now with Aiden Hutchinson already off the board. So this kind of puts the Detroit Lions in a tough pickle here, if I'm being honest. So the logical sign is pointing Kayvon Thibodeau, right? They need help on that defensive side of the ball. Offensively, they really focused on it in the early parts of their draft last year by getting Penei Sewell. But then they grabbed some defensive players in the second round. But I think they're going to try and focus on this defense here mostly in their first couple picks here for the Detroit Lions, especially in the first round at least. But there is a lot of signs pointing to Malik Willis going as high as 2 overall to the Detroit Lions, and we all saw his pro day. He looked great. I think he is my QB1 now on the board as terms as a prospect, the most upside, the most potential. I think is with Malik Willis. Is he ready to start week 1 in the NFL this year? I don't think so. I think best scenario for him is to go to a situation where he can sit for a year behind a veteran and then make that jump year 2 or 3 for him, I think is the best situation for Malik Willis. And you might be thinking, but a red shirt is your number 1 prospect? Yeah, I think he has the most upside. I think Kenny Pickett was the number 1 for a while, but I think just how Malik tested and how his pro day, we know the arm talent's there. We know the run ability is there. We just know the upside is crazy with this kid. So I just think he is the most upside. Kenny Pickett is definitely the more safe option if you're looking for a guy to start this year. But if if you want upside, I think Malik Willis is the guy. But anyways, back to this pick here. I don't think Malik Willis is going to the Lions. I just think that's too rich. The quarterbacks aren't as good as years past. I think it's just too rich, and the Lions need players to come in now and help their team now. So while Malik Willis would be a good pick for them long term, I think they need also a guy to come in now. And if their guy is there at 32, then you can address it. Or a little bit later on if you want to move up from 32. That's when I address it here. I just think Lions need to take the best player on the board here for them. And, that could be Kayvon Thibodeau for them. It could be. There's just a lot of question marks around him in terms of his potential and in terms of his, willingness to want to get better, and just off the field questions with Kayvon Thibodeau still exist even after the combine. But he still tested but there's all that question surrounding him is still a little uncertain for him. I think that is going to lead him to fall a little bit. But I think a guy like Kyle Hamilton would be an amazing get here for the Lions. Did his combine, shock people? No, it was just kind of maybe in some cases a little disappointing for people, but I think as a lot of analysts have said, he's the kind of a guy that just plays faster on tape. I think he's the kind of guy for that. So I think they should take Kyle Hamilton here. I know it might be a little too early for a lot of people in terms of a safety prospect going 2 overall, as the safety position isn't as coveted in the league now as it was, back then. But I just think he's too good, man. Hamilton can do so many different things for you on that offense that I think he's just too good to pass up there for the Lions. So they just take their next best prospect on the board, maybe best player on the board for them there. And Kyle Hamilton is that guy for them. This leaves Houston Texans on the board, who definitely have been busy this offseason. They now have the 13th overall pick. They accumulated that from the Cleveland Browns in the Deshaun Watson trade. So they definitely have 2 top 15 picks here for the Texans to get way better and definitely start turning things around for this organization, because it starts here. It really, really does. You have Watson no longer there. This is where the rebuild kind of really starts for the Houston Texans, where Nick Caserio is really going to be, magnifying glasses on him, starting with this 3rd overall pick. And they can go in a lot of different directions. I think it's also good for the Texans because their needs are all over the place. They really can go in any direction here. They could take best player available. They could, really focus on defense, on offense. But that's the thing. I think that's the special thing. They could really go in any direction here. So with that, I think they really should grab an offensive tackle here in this first part of the draft. With all the teams ahead of them here that need offensive tackle help, I think they need to grab one with this first pick here. And then at 13, they can address a different position that might be a little bit more of a need for them. But like I said, I think the Texans are in a position here where they can go really anywhere to better their football team. And I think offensive tackle would be a good start for them. I know it's not a flashy pick, but if you're really thinking about making Davis Mills your franchise quarterback to continue build with him, maybe it makes sense to get an offensive tackle with him to continue to grow and learn and, help protect him. I think that's really important. So looking at the 2 offensive tackle prospects here, I think Evan Neal is the safest choice. I think he is. I think Akeem Ekwonu, obviously this guy is the best in the passing game, pass blocking. Akeem Ekwonu is more of your run blocker. But I think the better overall player might be Charles Cross, but to do both. But I think Evan Neal is the better prospect here. I think, with Nick Caserio having coming from the New England organization, he knows how much the Bama organization is loved and respected there and how their players are loved and respected. So I think Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama, good pick there for the Texans, a nice franchise left tackle for you to build around for the future. And maybe even with, Davis Mills, or if you decide to go in a different direction there. So I think that's the pick there for the Texans. Then they address maybe defense at 13. Just see who's on the board there at that time for them. Next, we have the New York Jets on the clock, who they still have those 2 top 10 picks and definitely can continue to build this team. And the AFC East has gone crazy this offseason. 3 of the teams have definitely been improving, the Jets included, this offseason, grabbing a corner. and focusing on some other positions as well. But they definitely still need some work. There are definitely a lot of big marks on this team that need to be addressed. While they did sort of try to focus on this offensive line a little bit here, and the Jets know that they need help still at that offensive line. It's kind of hard for me to predict what they're going to do here, to be honest with you, because Robert Saleh is a defensive-minded coach, and they really focused on that offense in last year's draft. So do they change things up this time around and focus on this defense maybe a little bit more, bulking that up and trying to compete against some of these offenses now in the AFC East? That would make logical sense. But are they still trying to get this offense better? Because clearly it still needs a lot of help. And I think with the moves being made in the AFC East with the Bills, I think it just makes it's hard. It's hard. It's really, really hard to see what they're going to do. I know they love running the ball with Michael Carter, and now they're going to have to go up against Von Miller and Matt Judon and all of these prospects. So it's kind of hard to predict what they're going to do here. But if I was the Jets, I think they're going to focus on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to help Robert Saleh out a little bit more because they want to get the best out of their head coach as well. And I think what they're going to do is take Kayvon Thibodeau. It could be a high risk, high reward kind of player here. Could end up being the best edge in the draft when it's all said and done over a guy like Hayden Hutchinson. So are they in a position to gamble like this? I think their defense is definitely better than their offense, or are they looking for the sure thing? I mean, Akeem Ekwonu has issues, right? He's great at run blocking, right? But they want to get Zach Wilson the ability to throw the ball, and Akeem is not his strong suit. So that kind of worries me a little bit. Charles Cross, he's great. I think it's just a little too early for him. Maybe at 10 you can consider that if he's still available. But I think Kayvon Thibodeau makes the most sense here. They grabbed a corner in the draft. They could still address in free agency. They could still address that at 10 if there's one still there. But I think they can take a high upside pick there at 4 and maybe get the best player in the draft at 4 potentially there for the Jets. So that's where I'm going with that. New York Giants on the clock here. They also still have 2 top 10 picks. And I've moved on from a few players, and Kyle Rudolph is no longer there. So they added Tyrod Taylor. That was an interesting signing. Is it Tyrod's job? Is it Daniel Jones? Is Tyrod there to support Daniel Jones? Those are some things to think about here. But the Giants have definitely made a little bit of moves, right? But the one thing they really haven't focused on is that offensive line so much. And we know that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll have both said that their job is to make Daniel Jones the best player he can be. And with that is giving him an offensive line. That is step 1. So lucky for them, they have 2 really good prospects here in Akeem Ekwonu from NC State and Charles Cross from Mississippi State. I think that is clear. And I think which one makes more sense for them right now? I think it has to be Akeem Ekwonu, just because you think of Saquon Barkley and the ability he has running the football hasn't been as great before, but maybe that's because he doesn't have an offensive line. But I think, pairing an offensive lineman with Andrew Thomas, who had a good promising year last year, get another young guy in there with Andrew Thomas, you could have your 2 left and right tackles for the future. And I like Ekwonu here. I think it's a good pick. I think, with what they do with running the ball, I think is good. And that makes a lot of sense for them here. So we're going to give them Ike Ekwonu. Could end up being the best tackle in the draft. That's definitely not – Evan Neal is definitely not the sure real thing yet. But I think Akeem Ekwonu here makes sense for their fit with Daboll. And they could definitely coach him up to be a better all-around kind of tackle. But I like that fit there for Ekwonu there. High upside pick there for the Giants too, which leaves the Carolina Panthers on the clock. And honestly, this is all eyes are going to be on the Carolina Panthers here at 6 and what they're going to do, because Matt Rule is on the barn burner, ladies and gentlemen. He came in, his job was to reamp that organization. And it hasn't really happened. Sam Darnold did not do it. Their offensive line is terrible. Cam Newton tried to come in and save the day. He didn't. Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy. Their wide receivers can't really get the ball, right? Defensively, they have good players, but they just can't put it all together. This team is just a mess, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here at 6 overall. Are they trying to move the needle with this pick, or are they trying to build for the future with this pick? And that's kind of just where we're at. They have Tampa to deal with, and Tom Brady's back. So do they take a thing and all right, we're going to get a guy and build him for the future when Brady's out? You know what I mean? Here's the thing. Matt Rule was at Kenny Pickett's pro day and Malik Willis's pro day, and he was right behind center. He was watching, right? It kind of makes me feel like they're taking quarterback just based on that alone, right? But does he have final say? Dave Tepper, is he going to want to say, nope, we need to protect whoever the quarterback's going to be, and that is Charles Cross here. He's not going to fall to us. We don't have any picks until way later on in this draft. We need to get a sure, real deal thing here now, and maybe we can trade up to get a quarterback later. That could be their mindset too. But I think with Matt Rule being on the barn burner, being behind both of those guys at their pro days, something tells me they're taking quarterback here. I would be shocked. Actually, I wouldn't be shocked because Charles Cross is really good, guys. Don't get me wrong. Charles Cross is a very solid pick here for them, and he'd start right away for them, and it'd be a no issue. But we've seen a lot of teams take upside picks here, and I think Malik Willis is going to Carolina. I really do. You would have told this to me, 2 or 3 months ago that a quarterback in this class was going to go top 10. I would have called you crazy, but there's been a lot of moves happening, and, teams are trying to compete. And I think Carolina needs to build for the future. Does Malik Willis start for them week 1? Maybe, right? But, they could throw Sam Darnold out there, and he could be the guy, and then midway through the season, Malik is in, That's the kind of thing that they would have to think about there. But I think based on the situation they're in, Malik Willis to the Panthers makes sense. Matt Ryan is not there anymore, right? They're going to think about this, the division, right? And Tom Brady's not going to be there forever. So get your quarterback, franchise quarterback for the future. So that way you're ahead of the Falcons, right? You're ahead of all these teams. I think that makes sense. So Malik Willis to the Panthers. The Giants are back on the clock here. We saw them take a Kema Kwanwu with their first overall selection here. I think this one's going to be pretty easy for me. We still know this defense needs to get to the quarterback way better than they have been. It's a struggle for them. It's an issue for them. So I think if they walk out of this draft class with Kema Kwanwu and Trayvon Walker, who had a pro day and had a combine for himself, ladies and gentlemen, he looked insane. Great numbers, and that Georgia team in general has so many guys that are going to go in this first round. But I think Trayvon Walker is a slam dunk pick here for the Giants. You walk out of there with Kema Kwanwu and Trayvon Walker, you're feeling good about yourself. He's going to come in, really help set the edge there for that defense, and be a really good player there for the Giants. I love that pick a lot for them. The Falcons would have loved to have Trayvon Walker, another hometown kid coming back, hometown team sticking in Georgia, but didn't end up panning out that way for them. This leaves the Atlanta Falcons on the clock here, so lots been happening with them too. They were in the running for Deshaun Watson. They didn't get him, right? That would have been huge for this organization, right? That would have been definitely interesting to see how that would have been. We would have seen Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady twice a year. But that's not how it worked. They didn't get him. They signed Marcus Mariota, and all the questions are, is he a bridge quarterback, or is he going to be the backup to whoever they take here? All these questions we don't really know the answer to. It's interesting, though, that they took Mariota, and that kind of makes me think he's a bridge quarterback. I don't think they love anybody in this class, if you ask me. I think they're focusing on next year for quarterback, and I think Mariota will give them a year, and he's there for 2. Maybe if he plays well, he gets longer, but Mariota is definitely not a bad player for them. Bridge quarterback, you have Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley's not playing for this year because he's suspended. Could get fixed, but we'll see. But I think Atlanta is definitely in rebuild mode. You lost Matt Ryan, who's been there forever. So I think here they're just in a position to take best available player, if you ask me. But also, I think they too want to continue to work on this offense a little bit for whoever that quarterback is going to be for the future. And I definitely look at the receiver position here. I could definitely see the first receiver coming off the board here at 8 with Calvin Ridley not playing this year. I think that makes total sense for a receiver to go here. And I think that's what they're going to do. Jermaine Johnson, little too early for me personally. I think they should definitely take a receiver here. And I have Garrett Wilson as my number one receiver, just watching him on tape. Very good feet, very dynamic. The ability to run after the catch is what he does well. And I think, the Kyle Pitts does that really well. But I think adding a guy like Garrett Wilson to this team, it could be insane. Could be insane. He is my wide receiver 1. So I love that for them. It's a great pick for the Falcons. And now when Calvin Ridley does come back, when you have your franchise quarterback, you have Ridley, Wilson on the other side, and Pitts. It's a pretty solid offense, right? Cordero Patterson too. So I like that move there for the Falcons. Seattle Seahawks on the board here at 9. Obviously, the big blockbuster trade of the offseason, Russell Wilson, no longer a Seahawk. He is now in Denver as the quarterback for the Broncos. And now the Seattle Seahawks in return got a lot of first-round picks, got a couple picks, Drew Lock and Noah Fant. So they have a young tight end for the future. But is Drew Lock their quarterback of the future? Or is the Seattle Seahawks in a similar situation to the Falcons where our quarterback's not in this draft? We're going to build for the future. We're going to wait a year, run it out with Drew Lock for a year, and see how it goes. I don't know, guys. I don't know. This is a hard little spot here for the Seahawks. But this is hard. This is really, really hard. Charles Cross is still on the board. I know they need tackle help. That would be a huge get for them here. Man, I don't know if the Seahawks want to go quarterback here. Kenny Pickett, I just don't know if they love Kenny Pickett. I'm not crazy about him going to the Seahawks. I don't really see that being a fit. I think Seahawks here just need to take best available player. I think if I was them, I would go Charles Cross, and I think that's what they do. I think they ride it out with Drew Lock for this year and see how it looks next year. Young tight end. Obviously, you have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Lock is definitely not the most comfortable selection, but I think with Russell Wilson, they're gone. You gotta have to pivot in a different direction. So why not get a future tackle of the future there with Charles Cross? I don't mind that pick there for the Seahawks. The Jets are back on the board here, and offensive tackle. With Cross gone, I would have given them Cross if he was still here, but I think with him not being here, they grabbed Kayvon Thibodeau with their first pick here. And now they can continue to build on this defense. Like I said, all offense last year. I think now they go defense heavy with these first 2 picks at least, I think. A lot of people think they should go receiver, and I can see that happening, right? But they have Corey Davis. You have Elijah Moore, Michael Carter in the backfield, right? You have pieces to that offense. I think the wide receiver position is so stacked this year. I think you can wait a little bit on that, Jets. I think you can. So I'm going to give them the best corner in the draft right now, and that's Amar Gardner. Sauce Gardner, what a combine he had. Ran a very fast speed. He is a little skinny, right? He's going to have to build up a little bit there, but had zero touchdowns given up in his college career. Just really shooting up people's boards. And I think the Jets would love to have a shutdown corner in the AFC East. Got to go up against Stephon Diggs twice a year. Gardner could do that probably. So you have Tyreek Hill in that division now. So there's definitely number 1 receivers in that offense that are going to have to be taken care of, and Gardner could do that for them. So the Jets really have 2 really good solid pieces there on defense. That doesn't make me too comfortable because I'm a Patriots fan. The Washington Commanders are on the clock here. And this one is kind of interesting because, Carson Wentz is their guy. Clearly they got him, but I wonder if they maybe made a move too fast. Did they know about Deshaun Watson before making that move, right? I think Washington would have been all in on Watson had they known that he was cleared from legal allegations for now. But they went Wentz, and Wentz is their guy right now because I think Watson would have been interested in the Commanders with what they have defensively and offensively. But here we are. Carson Wentz is their guy right now. And the Commanders could go in a couple different directions here. I think continuing to help that offense would be good for Wentz and help out Terry McLaurin a little bit. It's just him kind of right now. So I think that would be big for them to grab another receiver here. Corner is definitely interesting. Do they want to take a gamble on a guy like Derek Stingley, who, continued in his sophomore year, in his rookie year, that he can be a shutdown and just continue to be good, but has fallen off a little bit here. Best wide receiver on the board for me right now is Drake London. He's kind of a little different than Terry McLaurin. He's your true big body receiver. 6'4". You can go out and get good red zone threat. Just he could really complement McLaurin pretty well, I think. I think Jameson Williams is going to fall a little bit because of the injury. Teams are going to be a little bit thrown off by that. But I'm going to give the Commanders Drake London. I think that would be a good complementary piece to Terry McLaurin there. Maybe a little early for Drake London, but I think, with what they already have, and I think it's a good complementary piece. Good 1-2 punch there for the Commanders. So I like that move for them. Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings on the clock here. New GM there, new head coach. So a lot of newness in that organization. But this pick here, I'm going to think about pretty closely because they could definitely use some help on defense. That's for sure. Kirk Cousins is sticking around for a little while longer. Obviously, they know they have pretty good pieces on offense, but I don't think that's where they should put their focus right now. I think this first pick should be definitely on defense. And you look at the players available. Derek Stingley's still here, right? Do you like the upside of that player? I do. Andrew Booth might be a little too early for him. Jordan Davis or Javonte Wyatt, two defensive linemen that had great combines, really impressed. Jordan Davis definitely impressed. Does Jordan Davis go as high as 12? Or does the tape do enough for Derek Stingley for the Vikings to finally maybe get themselves a true number one corner here? It's a hard pick here for them. It's really hard to see what they're going to do. I think that the Vikings do have pieces on that team, but do they have pieces up front? That's the question I want to know. Or do they – see, the Vikings, man, they got a good team. And I think they kind of want the real deal right now. And I think because of Jordan Davis's combine, that's going to shoot him up to 12. I think that might be a little crazy, but I think that's where they go there. Great get there for the Vikings. They get themselves a good upfront guy to help stop that run for sure. Now we have the Texans back on the clock. They took Evan Neal with their first pick. Great cornerstone pick, the future for their offensive line. And now they can really get an edge rusher here that I think is perfect value for a guy like Jermaine Johnson to fall to. He had a great combine as well. Started off at Georgia, but then transferred to Florida State and completely dominated over there. He's a great fit, great edge rusher. That would be a nice get for them. They really haven't had a true edge rusher since J.J. Watt was there, obviously. But if you can get a guy like Jermaine Johnson and you're walking out of there with Evan Neal and Jermaine Johnson, I think you're looking really good. Those are two solid pieces on both sides of the ball to build around there for Nick Caserio and those Texans. Lovie Smith as well would love that pick as well, being a defensive-minded guy. So I think that's a good two picks there for the Texans. The Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. They would have loved some Jordan Davis here. They would have loved Jermaine Johnson, but it didn't end up working that way. Here we are. So with them here, they did lose their center, but I think it's a little too early for Tyler Lindenbaum. 14's a little rich for me, so I don't think that's where they go. Obviously, Devontae Wyatt could be an option. Again, kind of a forgotten guy after how good Jordan Davis's combine was, but he still is on the board here. Could be a good get for them. A little bit smaller. Really no edge rushers here, so that's not a position they look at. But corner is a need, It definitely is. And I think the Ravens, yeah, they had a disappointing year last year. And Lamar Jackson was hurt, so that didn't really help their case. But I think they are a team. This is a team that can sort of take a gamble on a corner like this, a corner like Derek Stingley. I think this is a team that can take a gamble on them. That'd be a good get. If it pans out, he's a lockdown corner for the future for the Ravens. So might be a sneaky good get there for Baltimore as late as 14 when Stingley, in a lot of people's eyes, if he went in 19, could have been a top 5 pick. So if it works, it works. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock here. This is an interesting team here. They did make some moves in the offseason for sure that make me question where they're going to go. It's kind of a difficult team to draft for, to be honest with you, just because no one really knows how this is all going to pan out for them. But I think with my first selection here, they're going to take a receiver. I don't think it's 15, maybe around 19 they could think about one. But, man, this is so hard for them. This is just so hard just because, Andrew Booth is great, but I just think 15 is a little early for him. Trent McDuffie has been shooting up a lot of boards. He could definitely go here to the Eagles, be a slot corner for them. That would be a good get. And then, they definitely need guard help too. Let's not forget about that. Could get a potential replacement here as well. This is hard for them. Really, really hard here. I think Devontae Wyatt could be an interesting get for them. Kind of guy on the defensive end, the defensive line for them. I know it's not a huge need for them, but that could be an interesting pick here too. Can you tell that I'm struggling to see what they're going to do here? It's difficult. I think Devontae Wyatt's a good prospect. I think they'll go with him, at least with one of these picks. Just a guy to help on the defensive side of the ball. Might not be their biggest need, but I think that's a good, solid football player for them to get here. I think they're going to have to take one of the corners. I think McDuffie might be liked more than Booth because Booth is dealing with an injury right now, I think. So I think they might just have to take a gamble on one of these corners here. McDuffie seems to be the guy, and I think that's the direction they go. I think Booth continues to fall because of the injury, but I think those are two solid players on defense there for the Eagles. Next, we have the Chargers on the clock here, and a lot of people are aiming them to take a defensive lineman with their first pick because of the much-needed run defense help they need. But with Devontae Wyatt and Jordan Davis being off the board, that's kind of difficult to address that need right now. So I think their focus needs to go on the tackle position, right? Rashawn Slater, good rookie season, but they need to continue to help Justin Herbert get better and protect him. So with that, Trevor Penning is on the board here, 6'7". He's a very tenacious and nasty offensive tackle, but I think Staley would love that in his offense. And I've always had Penning mocked to go to the Chargers. I think it just continues to happen if it falls here. If you don't have Jordan Davis or Devontae Wyatt on the board there, I think Trevor Penning is the pick there. So that's just what I think there. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints on the clock, who, again, were another team that were in on Deshaun Watson, and they did not end up getting him. So a little unfortunate there, but here we are with the Saints at 18 overall. They don't have a quarterback right now. Well, they did just get Jameis Winston back. So he's back in New Orleans. But is that the guy? Or are they going to bring in a little competition here? It's hard to predict, man. It's really, really hard. Something tells me that they're not. With him coming in, he knows the offense. And maybe they're focusing next year on the quarterback position as well. Challenging stuff to think about, man. Here, really, really challenging stuff. Kind of difficult to see that all panning out that way. But let's talk about this pick here for the Saints. I think receiver makes a lot of sense for them here. With Michael Thomas coming back is great, but that's really all they have. So I think receiver makes sense here. Help Jameis Winston out for a little bit here. Jamison Williams I love, but I think he's going to continue to fall. Not Kenny Pickett, no. The next couple of guys you're looking at here are Jahan Datsun, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks are the next couple guys here. And looking at these guys, I think Olave would be an interesting guy to pair up with Michael Thomas, kind of like your slot guy who can, move the chains for you. And Michael Thomas is more of an outside guy, but can kind of play everywhere. So I kind of like that pick for them. Jamison Williams could be a nice little get for them too. And he's probably the better prospect. Yeah, we're gonna go Chris Olave. We're going to go Chris Olave. I think he goes before Jamison Williams because of the injury, but I think it's definitely a receiver no matter what there for them. There's Chris Olave, future receiver for the Saints, I think. Next, we have the Eagles back on the clock. This has to be receiver for them here, and I do think this is where Jamison Williams falls. As much as I'd love to see him fall to 21 because I think we'd snatch him up real quick, I think the injury is not going to make him fall out of the top 20. He still had tremendous numbers and a great season overall. Pair him up, with Jalen Hurts is great, and I think that's a good get there for the Eagles. Next, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock here, who did too make some moves this offseason. Mitchell Trubisky is now there, right? So that is thinking a lot of people up. It's not Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's not the guy, right? They got Mitchell Trubisky, but is Trubisky going to be the starter? That's a question remains to be seen. They already have a lot of quarterbacks in that room, though. Mason Rudolph is there as well as Dwayne Haskins. So I don't think they're going quarterback. I don't. Having 4 quarterbacks in camp, it's not impossible, I guess, right? Kenny Pickett, right? If any team knows Kenny Pickett, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Pittsburgh. Their facilities aren't too far from each other, so it makes a lot of sense. However, with the addition of Mitchell Trubisky and the upside he could have, makes me think that might not be the situation for them here. However, I do think they need help on the offensive line. And I think Zion Johnson would be a great fit here for them, help build that offensive line. Tyler Linderbaum I see more as a center, and I don't think they need a center, personally, if you ask me. Linderbaum could definitely play. Linderbaum could definitely play guard if he needed to, but I just don't see that happening there. So we're going to give them Zion Johnson here. I think a lot of people would love to see Kenny Pickett go there, but I just don't see it happening with the amount of quarterbacks they have on the roster already. Could one of them just get cut? Yeah, but can I see them taking Kenny Pickett? Yes. Do I see it happening? No. Realistically. New England is on the clock here, and this is my team, obviously, so I have a lot I want to happen in this pick, and kind of how I made the draft happen is how I kind of want it to happen, if that makes sense. We lost J.C. Jackson in the offseason. We need a shutdown corner, lockdown corner. The guy we got from the Texans isn't going to cut it. Malcolm Butler's back. That's great. He's not a number 1 anymore. And then we have Jalen Mills, who is not a number 1 either. So this pick screams corner for us. It's our number 1 position of need. We need it desperately. As much as we need receiver, I think we can wait to the 2nd and 3rd round. As I said, the depth at that position is so good in this draft. Corner starts to fall off a little bit here. So I'm looking at Andrew Booth from Clemson, and I'm looking at Kyer Elam from Florida, who had a great combine as well. 6'1.5", where Andrew Booth has a little bit. Oh, he's only 6 feet. That's interesting. But tough choice here. Really, really tough choice. Is Kyer Elam worth it? You know what I mean? 4-star recruit to Andrew Booth's 5-star recruit. I just think Booth has a little more upside. I just think he is a little smaller, but he is dealing with that injury, though. Starting outside corner. What does it say for Elam? I'm curious. starting outside corner, zone and press man. So Patriots have been playing a lot of zone and press. So we know that. Love man to man. And he's best in man. He's a good scheme, versatile, but he's best in man. And we know the Patriots love to play man to man coverage. I'm taking Booth, guys. I just think he's the better prospect. Elam, I wouldn't be mad with, but Booth falling there to the Patriots, I would love it. I think we need a corner. If we get Booth or Elam, I'm happy. Next, we have the Packers on the clock. And hello, blockbuster trades. The Packers now have two first-round picks because Devontae Adams is no longer there. He is now on the Las Vegas Raiders. So who does Aaron Rodgers have to throw the ball to? Nobody, because Marquez Valdes-Scantling is no longer there either. So are you happy, Aaron? Are you really, really happy? I don't know if he is. Oh, he probably is because he has money, and that's all he cares about. But the Packers are on the clock here, and with one of these two picks, they need to take receiver, or what else are they going to do? You know what I mean? Like, could they double up on receiver? Yeah, that's definitely an option for them here. But I think with the teams ahead of them, like the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Bills, these teams could definitely take receiver. So I think just get it with your first pick. It just makes the most sense to me here. So looking at the receivers still on the board, you have Jahan Datsun, who is obviously more of your slot receiver. Had a great season overall. But then you look at a guy like Treylon Burks, who is definitely more of an outside guy at 6'2", very tall. Aaron Rodgers loves having tall receivers. We know that. I think Treylon Burks would be an interesting fit here for the Packers. So that's who I'm going to give them. Treylon Burks seems to make the most sense there for them. They could definitely go receiver again at 28. We'll see how the board shapes out for them there. But good pickup there for the Packers. They need a receiver, clearly. And I wouldn't be surprised if they doubled up on it here in the first round. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals on the clock here. Who, again, are a team that definitely need corner help and edge help. Chandler Jones is no longer there. He is now in Las Vegas. So a guy like George Karlaftis could come in and definitely help set the edge for sure. That would be an interesting fit there. You look at a guy like Kyer Elam as well, who would come in and really help out that secondary as well. And then, you lost Christian Kirk, right? So Jahan Datsun could come in and be that slot receiver replacement right away. So there's guys here for them to take for sure. The question is, who do I like most for them here? What do they need most? We got to make Kyler Murray happy, right? Got to make Kyler Murray happy, right? Interesting. That's interesting. But they always go receiver, right? They always go receiver. Yeah, Jahan Datsun is interesting here for them. I think that's where they go. I'm going to give them Jahan Datsun. There's your Christian Kirk replacement, and now you have Hopkins. You have old-ass A.J. Green, and now Jahan Datsun. So there you go. The Cowboys are on the clock here, and this pick is kind of interesting. They just lost your left tackle, right? So do you help that offensive line? Nah, there's not really a tackle here. You could go Tyler Lindenbaum. That makes sense. You could go George Karlaftis. That too makes a lot of sense. No real receiver now for you to take. Why not grab George Karlaftis? Good edge rusher. Nice addition there for the Cowboys. Kind of just in a situation there. Take best available player. Buffalo Bills are on the clock. And hello, Von Miller. Welcome to Buffalo. Crazy get for them. I can't believe that happened. And how much money he got? 6 years, 120. Insane. But, hey, he got his bag. Good for him. But kind of scary to think about. We have to face Von Miller now twice a year in the division. But here we are. So Buffalo Bills can go in a lot of different directions here. I could see Kyer Elam being a good fit for them here with Tre'Davious White injured last year. And, they really don't have a true number 2. And, Kyer Elam could definitely come in and be that. No really defensive lineman here for them to grab. Perry and Winfrey, a little early for him. So I think with what's on the board, Kyer Elam makes the most sense for the Bills here. Comes in and, he can play zone, he can play press man, and he's a good corner too there to learn from Tre'Davious White. I like that move there for the Bills. Don't love it because I have to face them twice a year, but back to the point here. Titans are on the clock. They lost some of their offensive linemen in free agency. So I could see them going in that direction. But I think linebacker, too, is a big need for them. And the two best linebackers are still on the board here. I think Devin Lloyd really is a great player, really good, fast, athletic player, 6'3", 237, could come in and really be the focal point of that defense. I like it a lot, actually, now the more that I think about it. So I'm going to give them Devin Lloyd, good player there. Mike Vrabel, former linebacker. So makes sense there, right? He understands what good linebacker play looks like. Next, we have the Buccaneers on the clock, and they thought they weren't going to have Tom Brady going into this season, but Tom is back. Chris Godwin is back. They got Mike Evans. They added who did they add from the Falcons? Russell Gage is now there. No Gronk yet, but things are starting to come back there for them. They lost a running back recently, but the things are starting to look pretty good there for Tampa. They still getting their pieces, doing what they have to. But looking at what's here, right? They did lose guard. They did lose a big guard, but they got Shaq Mason as well, too. Let's not forget that. A tough little spot here for me for the Buccaneers and what they could do. A lot of people have Breece Hall going in round 1. I don't see that happening. Kenyon Green or Tyler Lindenbaum, maybe just continuing to build that offensive line might not be a bad decision, but they got Shaq Mason. So maybe that's not the direction they go. Maybe safety is where they look at here. Daxton Hill could be an interesting fit for them here. I think that's where I'm going to go. Just looking one more time. Yeah, give them Daxton Hill. Kind of just a good fit there as far as a need. So I like that pick there for him. Next, we have the Packers back on the clock here. There's really no receiver here for them to take. Sky Moore, a little early for him. You got Treylon Burks. That's a good get. So maybe you can grab another one later on. But just kind of take a good prospect here. Boye Mafe could be a great fit for them here. Good edge rusher. Sneaky good. He's creeping up boards for sure. Perry and Winfrey could be a fit. Nakobe Dean would be interesting for them. We're going to give you guys Boye Mafe, good edge rusher, and help out your really young defense as well. Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. Tyreek Hill no longer there. This pick was the Dolphins pick, but is now the Chiefs pick because Tyreek Hill is now a Dolphin, and the Dolphins gave up all of their draft capital for the Chiefs to have back-to-back picks here. So not too bad. Wouldn't be surprised if one of these picks were used for a team to trade down maybe, or, kind of those scenarios. I don't know if the Chiefs want both picks here, but they're in that spot now. So we're going to pick for them as if they do want these two spots. So looking at the board here, maybe the Chiefs are just in a position here to take best available player, maybe. Tyler Lindenbaum, Kenyon Green, David Ojabo. Maybe they could take a guy like Ojabo, who did get hurt and might not play this year, apparently. So, but I don't know if he's going to go. Nakobe Dean is still here. Lewis Sine is still here. So there's definitely guys that could help them for sure. You don't have a Tyrann Mathieu anymore, right? He could potentially be leaving. So we're going to give you guys Nakobe Dean. I think that's the first player you guys get. Good linebacker. And then let's see here. Who do I want to give the Chiefs? Because they're just so, I don't know, man. There's no wide receivers. There's no really corners for them to go with. Kyler Gordon, yeah, maybe a little early. But David Ojabo, I just don't know if they want to wait for Ojabo and waste a pick here. You know what I mean? We'll give you Lewis Sine. You don't have Tyrann Mathieu right now, so there's two really good players for your defense who you're going to have to face really good offenses in the AFC West. The Bengals are on the clock here, and I think this is perfect scenario here for them. They need to continue to build that offensive line. Tyler Lindenbaum to the Bengals. Great, baby. Maybe the best interior lineman in the draft. You just got there at 31, so great value pick here for him. And now the Detroit Lions are on the clock. I told them not to take quarterback at 2, but 32, maybe. And look who's still on the board. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh is your quarterback of the future. for the Lions there. So there is my first round updated mock draft 2.0. Let's just go through it again real quick. I have the Jaguars taking Aiden Hutchinson first overall. Then at 2, Lions take Kyle Hamilton. 3, Texans take Evan Neal. 4, Jets get Kayvon Thibodeau. 5, the Giants get Ikem Ekwonu, tackle from North Carolina State. 6, the Panthers take Malik Willis. 7, the Giants take Travon Walker. 8, the Falcons take Garrett Wilson. 9, the Seahawks take Charles Cross. 10, the Jets get Ahmad Gardner, Sauce Gardner. 11, the Washington Commanders take Drake London. 12, the Vikings get Jordan Davis. 13, the Texans grab Jermaine Johnson. 14, the Ravens take Derek Stingley. 15, the Eagles get Devontae Wyatt. 16, the Eagles also get Trent McDuffie. 17, the Chargers take Trevor Penning. 18, the Saints take Chris Olave. 19, the Eagles take Jamison Williams. 20, the Steelers take Zion Johnson. 21, the Patriots take Andrew Booth. 22, the Packers take Treylon Burks. 23, the Cardinals take Jahan Datsun. 24, the Cowboys take George Karlaftis. 25, the Buffalo Bills take Kaiir Elam. 26, the Tennessee Titans take Devin Lloyd. 27, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Daxton Hill. 28, the Green Bay Packers take Boye Mafe. 29, the Kansas City Chiefs take Nakobe Dean. And at 30, the Chiefs take Lewis Sine. 31, the Cincinnati Bengals take Tyler Lindenbaum. And at 32, the Detroit Lions take their quarterback of the future, Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. So there you have it, guys. There is my complete mock draft 2.0. I do plan on doing another one before the draft. It is the end of March, and the draft is late April, so maybe I can squeeze in 2 more mocks. Maybe I'll do a mock draft 3.0, and then we'll finish it off with the final one. Maybe probably just one more. I'll probably do one more mock draft before the draft hits. So maybe the night before or 2, I'll do a final mock, and we'll see what I think the final true selections will be. But, guys, I'm glad you guys watched this one. Hope you guys liked it. Definitely let me know some of your picks. Do you have any crazy things happening? Is this going to be the draft order? Are things going to change come draft night? More trades going to happen. Lots of interesting things. There's still some great quarterbacks out there like Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo and, Bobby Wagner. There's still some great free agents out there that still are yet to be signed. So that could definitely shake things up too. But thank you guys so much for watching my second mock draft, and I'll talk to you guys later.